Today's video is brought to you by Conflict of Nations, a game that I think you guys are gonna love. Look, if you ever wanted to lead a country to victory in a global war, hell yes you have, you budding dictator, you. And now you can with Conflict of Nations. It's a free online PvP strategy game where you can choose a real country to lead in modern warfare. And this isn't just your typical war game. You can fight up to 128 other players in real-time games that can take weeks to complete. You get to use many different units to build your army, like tanks, jets, and nuclear submarines. And you can declare war on your neighbors or forge alliances with other players. And the best part, you get to choose your own strategy, engage in epic battles, and take over the world. Brilliant. What I personally enjoy about Conflict of Nations is it's a long-term game. I like that aspect. You really have to think ahead and plan your moves to be successful. And the fact you can play with the same account on both PC and mobile is just a big win. So, if you're looking for a game that's going to challenge you and keep you entertained for weeks on end, I'd really recommend checking out Conflict of Nations, and right now you can get an exclusive gift of 13,000 gold and a month's premium subscription for free by clicking on the link in the description below. But don't wait too long because that's only available for 30 days. So what are you waiting for? Link in the description below. Dominate the world. And now back to today's video. First released in 2001, Google Earth puts the entire world just a few clicks away. A massive compilation of photos taken of the Earth's surface, captured by satellites and aircraft. It gives users incredible access to our planet in stunning detail. And let's be honest, the first time we used it, most of us just immediately zoomed in on our houses to see if they really had mapped everything, and many of us didn't do much more than that, realizing that yes, they had really mapped everything. However, there are some people who used Google Earth to its full potential, and they found some pretty incredible things among the millions and millions of photos. So today, we're going to show you 4 of these, and where you can spot them yourself. In 2007, economist and amateur archaeologist Dmitry Day was scouring the landscape in his home country of Kazakhstan on Google Earth. He had been watching a TV show about pyramids around the Earth and figured that there might be some undiscovered ones in Kazakhstan as well. He didn't find any pyramids, but he did stumble upon something peculiar near the town of Urpak. Massive shapes and figures seemingly carved into the sand, and so large that they were visible only from the sky. These were the steppe geoglyphs, and Day was credited as the first person in modern history to spot them. Once the announcement had made global news, it attracted the attention of news agencies, more Google Earth sleuths, and even NASA, who began to investigate the earthwork for themselves. It's now believed that there are at least 260 individual geoglyphs in the region, often nicknamed the Nazca Lines of Kazakhstan, made by digging and piling dirt to make mounds and trenches. But while more and more were being discovered, the question of who actually built them remains. Of course, we could discount the extraterrestrial hypotheses that immediately cropped up on some select television programs, but the alternative actually leaves us with more questions than answers. You see, some of the lines have been found with Neolithic artifacts dating to at least 8000 BC, a time when the region was inhabited by the Stone Age nomadic culture known as the Manhansar. This would mean that even before they began the practice of agriculture and building long-term settlements, they already had enough manpower and organization to carry out huge products. As put by Dr. Clarkson of the University of Winnipeg, quote, "The idea that foragers could amass the numbers of people necessary to undertake large-scale projects like creating the Kazakhstan geoglyphs has caused archaeologists to deeply rethink the nature and timing of sophisticated large-scale human organization as one that predates settled and civilized societies." Unfortunately, while the rest of the world took great interest in these discoveries, the government of Kazakhstan didn't feel the same way, and one of the figures, the Koga Cross, has already been destroyed during the construction of a roadway. There have been proposals to make the area a protected UNESCO site, but so far, nothing has come of this. If you want to see the geoglyphs yourself, well, many of them have been added to Google Earth as locations, so go check them out. The Earth is struck with meteorites all the time. In fact, up to 20 hit the surface of our planet every single day, and many more burn up in the atmosphere before they even get to the ground. However, because we don't often know where these meteorites land, and because many of them land in the ocean, their impact craters are rarely found before they've been worn down by the elements. This is why there only are about 190 confirmed impact structures in the whole world, making our next find even more special. In 2008, Vincenzo De Micheli, a curator at the Milan Natural History History Museum, was poring over Google Earth, but not in his home country, Italy. This time, he was looking in Egypt. While scouring the desert in southwestern Egypt, he suddenly spotted what appeared to be an absolutely pristine impact structure, soon to be called the Meteorite Crater. The crater has a diameter of about 45 meters or 147 feet and is located right next to the border of Sudan, right smack in the middle of East Uana Desert on the eastern half of the Sahara. After announcing his finding, Vincenzo and a group of Italian and Egyptian researchers headed down there to find the crater for themselves, and what they found exceeded their expectations. Because the Meteorite Crater is an area of the world that receives such little precipitation, it was nearly perfectly preserved to a level generally only ever seen on the surface of the Moon or Mars, where the atmosphere and the environment doesn't erode the evidence. This allowed scientists an unprecedented glimpse into the impact itself. It was so well preserved that they could see the marks in the sandstone from when the fragments exploded outward, called ejectorae, and heavy chunks of the meteorite were found all around. Hundreds of iron fragments were collected, and after evaluating the depth and size of the crater, it was estimated that the meteor's original size was likely about 1.5 meters in diameter, or 4.5 feet, and weighed around 4,000 kilograms or 9,000 pounds. And even more shocking, they estimate that this impact occurred just a few thousand years ago. That's fairly recent on the geological timescale. Head of the study, Luigi Falchi, said, "This crater is really a kind of beauty because it's so well preserved that it will tell us a lot about small-scale meteorite impacts on the Earth's crust. It's so nice, it's so neat. There is something extraordinary about it. And there is a potential for this crater to make an impact on future asteroid defense research as well." As Falco continued, quote, "Studying this crater is a good opportunity for scientists to get a correct assessment of the hazard small impacts pose to the Earth and to devise mitigation strategies." Most of the Camille meteorite chunks are on display in the Egyptian Geological Museum in Cairo, though a few pieces were brought back to be displayed in Italy. If you want to see the crater for yourself, it's since been added as a location, so searching for the Camille crater will bring you right to it. In the 21st century, it might feel like we've already explored everything that there is to explore. Gone are the days of sailing across the ocean and finding a previously uncharted island. We just seem to know a great deal about pretty much every corner of our planet. Like the old saying goes, born too late to explore Earth, born too early to explore the galaxy. But there is one advantage that we have today that explorers didn't have back in the day. Today, you don't need to hire a crew and a ship to go looking for new lands. All you need is a computer and perhaps a bit of luck, and then you might hit the jackpot, like a few British scientists did in 2005. While browsing Google Earth over Mozambique, researchers from the Royal Botanical Gardens spotted what looked to be a rainforest on Mount Mabe in the northern part of Mozambique. But after cross-referencing modern maps and literature, however, mentions of this forest were nowhere to be seen. The satellite photos of it seemed to be the first of their kind. Something unknown was out there, and they quickly gathered a team to check it out. They teamed up with the local Mulanje Mountain Conservation Trust and headed to Mount Mabe in late 2005, and what they found there was extraordinary. An old-growth rainforest, completely undocumented in modern science, now believed to be the largest medium-altitude rainforest in all of Africa. Of course, the locals had known about the rainforest for centuries, as they'd been using it for hunting, shelter, and religious ceremonies, but this was the first time that a research team had set foot in the area. One of the most fascinating things about Mount Mabe is the fact that it has largely gone without disturbance, meaning that there was a host of unique species for scientists to find, both in their 2005 expedition as well as another one in 2008. Among these new species included a new parasitic shrub, a new bush viper, a new chameleon, several new butterflies, and much, much more. There's also believed to be new catfish, insects, frogs, and even scorpions. Along with the new species, they also found dozens of types of birds that were previously believed to be endangered, showing that their numbers were much larger than we thought before. In 2009, the government of Mozambique announced that it would take steps to protect Mount Mabe, mostly to prevent it from falling victim to commercial logging. Although there has yet to be a lot of concrete progress on this front, aside from a few conservation organizations being given power to control access to the forest. There are also efforts to make the surrounding region safer, as much of it is still damaged and heavily mined from the Mozambique Civil War of the late 20th century. Just like other locations that we've covered, you can find this one for yourself on Google Earth by just searching Mount Mabu, M-A-B-U. Similar to Mount Mabu, our next location is one that stayed undocumented for so long simply because it was so inaccessible. But this time, it's not a rainforest in the heart of Africa. Instead, it's far further north in Greenland. Greenland has some of the craziest rivers on Earth. Fast, icy waters carving through miles and miles of glaciers. Many of these rivers have not been extensively explored for this reason, but there was one team that wanted to change that. In 2017, Sarah McNair Landry, Eric Boomer, and Ben Stewksbury took to Google Earth and began scanning Greenland, and they found what looked to be a pair of rivers on the island's rocky western coast. After further digging, there was no name for these rivers, and they were entirely uncharted. The trio was determined to not only explore the rivers, but to do so in kayaks, which would become the northernmost rivers ever paddled. They mapped the area as much as they could from Google Earth, but as you look further inland, the quality gets considerably worse, so there was a lot left for them to discover with their own eyes. They named the rivers the Twin Galaxies, and to reach them, they had to travel across more than 1,000 kilometers or 620 miles of Greenland's ice. Because there's obviously no roads this far north in the barren wasteland that is northern Greenland, the crew had to snow kite or kite ski much of the journey. Kite skiing is the use of big sails to catch wind and propelling yourself across the ice, allowing you to jump and ski across the terrain much faster than normal. It might sound unbelievable that they traveled that far, but one of the crew members, the Canadian Sarah McNair Landry, already held a 2010 world record for the sport from when she and a partner kite skied 595 kilometers or 370 miles in just 24 hours across part of the Antarctic. They also completed the first ever partial crossing of the entire frozen continent using the same method, so suffice to say she was pretty good at it. After towing their kayaks across the ice for days, the trio finally reached the source of the river and began paddling down the rough waters, waterfalls, and canyons both above and below the ice. By the time they reached the end of the rivers, their entire journey had taken them 46 days. If you want to take a look at the Twin Galaxies on Google Earth, unfortunately they still haven't been named, but we'll pop in the coordinates in the description below. Thanks for watching. So thanks for watching today, and just a reminder, today's sponsors Conflict of Nations, a free online PvP strategy game where you can engage in epic battles and take over the world. There's a link below, get your exclusive gift of 13,000 gold and 1 month of premium for free. Link below, and thanks for watching.